To me, mentorship is all about helping people to get to know who they are.
Welcome back to another episode of A Measure of Passion. Today, I have a very special guest. She is a relative of mine. It's my Aunt Sophie. And I have admired my aunt for ever since I met her. And since I got to know who she was, how she came to be in terms of her life until I have met her. She immigrated to the U.S. after marrying my uncle. She came as a nurse to the United States and has done a lot of education since then. As I reviewed her bio on her LinkedIn profile, I saw that she has a degree in chemistry from India. And then when she came to the US, she got her master's degree in nursing. And what I didn't realize until probably just 2 or 3 years ago was that, and I'm going to call her Sophie because that's what I call her at home. She has a certificate, a postmaster's certificate in leadership from Cornell University. And I have a master's degree in business with a concentration on leadership and organizational development. And so the fact that we share this love for leadership doesn't surprise me, but it was something that I haven't really even picked her brain on because A, Cornell University is a well-known Ivy League university, and B, the fact that my aunt attended school there and has a degree and a certificate from there shouldn't surprise me at all. And so I've actually never talked to her about her coursework and the things that she did, and we probably won't get into that because what we're focused on today is our shared love for mentorship and how she lives that life, mentorship in all sorts of different ways. And even as I was talking to her yesterday, I realized that she found somebody to mentor in the airport, and they now have this ongoing relationship, which doesn't once again surprise me. But the fact that she met this person on an airport, in an airport when they were both, waiting to travel, also taught me yesterday in a brief conversation that mentorship takes many different forms. And so we're going to dive into all of that. We're going to talk about what mentorship means to her, why this is a passion of hers. And I'm going to start off by talking to my aunt and just saying, "Hi, Sophie, how are you doing today?"
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. And you're giving me a lot more credit than I deserve. No, I just love it. That's my passion. And like you said, mentoring it's not mentoring like really one full. It's anything and everything and anybody and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, how did you get introduced to, when did you realize mentorship was actually like a role that somebody could play in your life? Like, what are your earliest memories of what that looked like
I
for
would
you?
say my biggest mentor was my parents, my mom and my dad, and they were extremely different pathways. My dad was always like being like good work. I mean, both of them teaches good work ethics and trying to be honest and do the best you can and blah blah blah. And you know, my dad always believed that you should not be getting handouts. Whatever you get, you earn it. So that was one of the things he really wanted to instill in us, and that stick with me. My mom, on the other hand, we like, as you know, I have 10 siblings, and so I come from a huge family, and our neighborhood was a pretty um empowered. Like it's like a lot of poverty and stuff like that. But she would take these kids, feed them, and teach them. And when I went back to India last time, and then they're all like, "Oh my God, we ate at your mom's house, and we never forget." And they're all big, they're big shots. They're doing like good jobs and everything. So that really teach me that if you help somebody, they could do a lot more, because a lot of times people can't do things by their own, and they don't even understand what they can do in that's my goal, to teach people to, hey, you could do, like yesterday, one of my people told me, like, I did not know that I could do all that until you really pushed me to do it. So I was there from young age, and I had a lot of my kids joke with me and say that you have always had a clan behind you because I was kind of an informal leader always, and I always fought for the underdogs. To this day, I hate bullies, and I always want to help others. And so if I meet somebody, and when people think of mentoring, they think of mentoring as leadership or doing, do big things. For me, that's not it. It's just like, can you get through the class? Can you get through cooking? Can you get through the airport? I mean, it's just like anything, right? That's how I feel about it. And I always say, it's teaching a man to fish instead of fishing for them. Because if you know
Exactly.
how to do it, you are going to be independent and successful. So yeah, from at a young age, I did not know I was passionate about it. I didn't. It was part of me, and until I become a leader and start working and I start doing precepting and stuff like that, that's when I realized that I love teaching and I love helping people. And
Yeah, I forgot to mention, I'm so sorry I neglected to share with the listeners that you have a leadership role at the hospital that you work at, and that you are responsible for all aspects of the surgery suite. And so you take care of pre-op and PACU and post-op, and you're the nurse leader. And you have, I don't exactly know how many people you report to you, but you have a pretty significant role, and you have the opportunity in a business setting, in a healthcare setting, to mentor a lot of people. But from what you're saying, you also mentor everyday people and everyday tasks and things and anybody that really, crosses your path. If there's an opportunity to teach them something, I do believe, and from yesterday's conversation, you clearly take them under your wing and show them that you can be an ally to them. And so I think that takes mentorship to a different level. So in my very short-sighted view of mentorship, I sort of think of it mostly in a business environment, so that you're mentoring somebody who might be a junior person to you, somebody who may report to you, somebody that is looking for some direction, or you feel like they need somebody to help them navigate certain business situations. But you're actually expanding that definition in a much, much larger way, which I really appreciate, because I can think of people that I've also done that with, but I didn't necessarily call it mentorship. So how do you see, what is your definition of mentorship, and how do you see mentorship being different in a like situation versus a business situation, if you can even draw a distinction between that?
um, so to me, mentorship is all about helping people to get to know who they are. Because, for example, if I meet you and I mean, you're already very successful, and maybe you have something you don't know about you, and I mean, you're amazing. So I don't know. I mean, you're pretty good. But if I meet somebody and they don't know they could do this A, B, and C, or they are, so finding that in them, which take to get to know the people and build their trust and let them know, hey, if you go to school, you could do this little thing, or if you be a leader, this is, and they're like, and they don't agree with you in the beginning, but you just show them that this is who you are. And I don't want to say like mentorship is one way. I learn a lot from these people, every person I meet too, right? I learn from them a lot. I mean, they're teaching me things I would never know about myself or thinking, because they're like, oh, you make us feel safe. And I'm like, oh, that's it. So that they're mentoring me, right? So,
Okay.
and that give me more motivation to do things too. So it's a tourist street. So mentoring in the business sense, see, I had mentored multiple leaders, because I had a very senior level role in Virginia Mason, as well as in South Carolina, and then I had managers underneath me, and I mentor them to become more leadership, transitioning to whatever. But at the same time, and also I had mentor people to become they're like president and CEOs and CNEs and I tell them like it's because you are amazing and you are no it's you made me do it. I'm like no I have nothing to do with it. It's helping you. So it's helping them find what can they do, which is not easy because people not. I mean, I never believed that I could be where I am, but somehow I stumbled there. Then I'm like, oh, and I start believing in myself because my people start telling me that, oh, you are like the best manager we ever had, or you're like the best leader we ever got. You're the best coworker, best whatever. So you are like, oh. And then I'm like, nah, maybe not. You're just making it up. And then you start thinking about yourself and believing in yourself too. So it's future, um, that's like a really bizarre way of going about for mentoring. But and that's what I want to on my future life. That's what I want to do to people, underprivileged girls, and anybody, like to coach them and get them to be where. And I think I did that with my girls a lot too, to tell them like you could do, and they're pretty independent, but I also instill that in them.
Yeah, I want to highlight your title on your LinkedIn profile because I found it so fabulous. You call yourself the CEO of, fill it in for me.
CEO of like what is it called? Mentoring. I'm trying to think.
It could be mentoring. It could be just that simple. But I remember looking at
Yeah,
that.
it's funny. I put it there because I'm like, oh, it's CEO motivated. Let me see.
But what I
chief
found
energizing intrinsic, chief energizer officer, and that's exactly what I love to do.
Yes, and I thought to myself, and maybe it's just LinkedIn is a professional networking thing. So I thought, oh yeah, everybody else puts like their title, and only Sophie Auntie would put her future dream state. She wants to be the CEO, the chief, energizing person. And I thought this is perfect. I mean, you have your future state listed on your profile because that's who you're going to be. And as you were talking, you made me think of a lot of different things. First of all, I agree with you 100% that being a mentor is about showing somebody their potential, because I think that we're limited in our own sight of being able to see who we can become. And so having a great mentor teaches you that you can reach this goal and you're there to help be their cheerleader to get there. And that's really, really important. You also said that it's a two-way street. And so it's a mutual relationship in the sense that what you give them, they get back to you in so many different ways. And that's what I think motivates those of us who love to mentor, because in many ways, it's a selfish act. We're going to get a lot out of it too. And that's what keeps that relationship really thriving. And the last thing you also said that I agree with 100% is that, a lot of people are afraid of being a mentor, because it means that somebody's going to rise above you. And the mentor is afraid because they see that, maybe they're afraid of what that's going to look like. And I tell all my managers that report to me that the greatest compliment is that you become bigger than me. You become greater than me, because that is a compliment to our working relationship. And so don't be afraid. And if you take my job, then it frees me up to do whatever is in my next path, And so it really is a win-win thing. It's not about holding you back or, being my level is the final goal for you. If you rise above me, that to me is success. I mean, that's more than success. So I love those ideas because you're talking my language. You're talking about everything that I love about mentoring, because mentoring is one of my passions as well. Do you have Um, like, what do you think is the highest level of mentoring? Or it's something that I haven't even conceptualized yet. Like, where do you think, what has mentoring, what is a situation or example of a mentoring relationship that you've had that may be in a business relationship, may not be in a business relationship, but is something that you really feel has been like, wow, I never thought it was going to yield this. And yet here it is. I love those kind of success stories.
So, one, like I said, the one of the person I just told you, I mentor. Well, she's amazing herself, and I told her like to apply for this one job, and she did not think of herself, you know, for that job. I'm like, no, you could do it, and then she applied, she got the job, and she become like SENO and CNE and regional director and vice president. And she went and I said, I can't even, I need 2 pages for your degrees, because she went and got MBA, PhD, DNP, FSC. I mean, like, she's like way up there, but she is
Uh-huh.
one of the funniest, most hardworking, as I mean, it's somebody who has the complete package of to be a leader. And she just didn't know. And I was keep pushing her, and she finally did it. And she, to this day, she's like, "You're like the amazing." I'm like, "No, I have nothing to do with it. It's all you. I just had to push you to do it." That's one. And another side of the story was, I had a unit clerk, like really basic, and she hated that job because it was basically paid and it was boring. I said, "Why don't you take some classes?" And she said, I hate school." And and I said, "Well, that's not a choice. They pay you to take classes here. I want you to go take these Excel classes and whatever." And then she did, you know, kick and scream all the way. And then now she has a job, like makes 5 times more than what she made. And she keep telling me, "I owe my life to you, because you completely changed my life. I hated school. You made me do it." And then now she's doing all these things. And, she comes from it. I don't want to call it underprivileged, but, it's, they don't have, nobody offer these to them. And these are, I mean, hospital pay free to people to take school. And why wouldn't you do it? And anyway, now she's not even in the hospital setting. She's working for the federal court. And she has a daughter. And that's what I said. You need to show your daughter that you are, you like school, and then you're doing, because if you want. So anyway, long story short, she didn't become one of my good friends in Charleston. And she's doing so much more stuff. Like, she's taking classes for, um, you know, building and real estate, and she's like, "I want to be independent and do my own things." And it's amazing that, like, and I joke with her, and every time she say it, I'm like, "I told you so." She's like, "Yeah, you never gonna learn me. You're always gonna say that until I'm like, I'm gonna say it until I die, because that is it." But that is like, to I was the director. So for a director to go and even have a conversation with them, I had 8 departments and almost 200 employees reporting to me, and to make them believe and do it, and for her to be comfortable for me to have that conversation with me. Like, when you think about it, the normal level employees don't even talk to the director. They don't even see them. And so, so anyway, I would say that is one of my most successful stories, because I'm so proud of her, and how she, and I have nothing to do with it. I just had to push her hard enough to get there. And
Well, I think part of the skill of being a good mentor, and especially I think you and I share this, is that you see people, all people, And it is something that, my dad taught me was that never disrespect the people that, that they may not have what you have. Like everybody, you respect everybody, from the janitor to the person who is, the boss. And you have to see them for who they are and what they can bring. And I think that when those individuals are on your radar, anybody and everybody in that field of your sight has the opportunity to be mentored. And I think it takes a special person to see them for who they are and not seeing a limited person based on their education or their job title or their socioeconomic level or, the resources that they have. And the fact that, there's a lot of conversation, I'd say, in the last, in the last couple of years about changing your family legacy or changing the history of your family. And for that individual, you change that direction of her whole family, because now daughter's perspective and everything that daughter is going to have access to is very different than what she had access to as somebody who maybe in her original mindset, becoming a unit clerk, which is like a receptionist on a hospital ward, was the greatest accomplishment that she thought she could ever do. And now her goals are to become, who knows, maybe a real estate magnate, who owns properties and sells properties and is getting into a whole different sphere of life. And so that's an amazing story in terms of how you changed her life and her family's life. Now, the other thing that people don't talk a lot about in mentorship, which I think needs to be discussed, is one of the hardest things about mentorship, which is to mentor somebody into something that they think is their path and they're not a good fit for that. So I don't know if you've had that experience. I've had that experience a couple of times. I would never call it mentorship, but that is what it is, because my first manager told me that the hardest part about being a supervisor is to give critical, constructive feedback to somebody to help them realize that maybe they're not good at something that they might think is their path. And so have you had an experience like that, Sophie? Have you had somebody that you had to share with them that maybe their life's work may not be what really is their skill set or is a good fit for them?
A lot of times. I mean, multiple times, I should say, because I'm in a leadership role, so, and I had to say it because, plus we are doing patient care and we're meant to, but behavioral, like, actually, this is where the mentoring failed story for me. When I was become a rookie manager, I had a coworker of mine. I put her as a charge nurse, and a good friend of mine told me that I'm not sure that's a good idea because but I didn't see that because I always tried to see beyond it, which was I learned pretty fast. That's you got to be sensitive about it. But anyway, a year later, she was very toxic, and we had multiple conversation about it. And I really quickly realized she's not going to change. So I had to have the difficult conversation with that person to get him out. But then that backfired me because the environment I was in was, I didn't do it right because I didn't get HR or my boss involved. Because as a rookie, I'm very independent, which I learned. There's times where you're independent, times you're not. And I thought, she used to be my friend, and I could talk to her, and I make her understand, and then we will be fine. Like, so I never got an HR involved or my boss involved, and I was having all these conversations, tried to do it in a very not informal way, but she complained to HR that, in a different way. And HR is like, oh, you can't do that. And, if there was issues, why didn't you blah, blah, blah. But that was a huge lesson for me. Actually,
Mhm.
she actually reverse mentored me into I would never do that again. So and every time from then on, if I had to have a difficult conversation with people, I would have every party involved, papers are done, so it was, and after that, and multiple times I had to let go people and stuff like that because of the behavior or whatever. And sometimes it's not all clean cut, right? So
Right.
people never think they're wrong, including myself. And but anyway, that happened, and probably, but the good part is that is probably the biggest learning lesson I had, which helped me. And I left the organization, and I became so much more than somebody else. And like I financially, financially, learning wise, all the above, I become so much better than I would have been if everything was fine. So I think it was a God's plan, but also, learning when to reach out for mentoring ourselves, to learn that, reach out to help and resources before you make decisions. And or don't, not everybody's mentorable either. There's each a mentor for every a mentee for every mentor. Not everybody
Yeah.
can be mentored by you, but someone
Yeah.
else.
I do think that it is something that we have to grow through and go through in the sense that not everybody is going to be um, the way we want them to be, right? I mean, you have an initial reaction to somebody and you think, oh, yeah, this person can do a lot of things. But there is a level of personal development that needs to come. I mean, I value leadership so much that if I am going to groom you to become a leader, you also have to be a good person. And I think that sometimes you don't know that about somebody until they're put into a difficult situation and you're able to see how they react and how they behave. And the people that behave inappropriately or choose the toxic route, then we need to pick that up about, and I think early in our careers as mentors, we want to think of the best of everybody and we think we can help them come that. But I think that that limitation on a personal level or being a good person definitely has been the same, um, I think, fault that I have found in myself, which is that I will try to force it to happen and it can't happen. They have to want to be a good person and want to become a leader for the right reason, not for financial gain, not for the next job in their career, not for a title, but because they want to lead people for the reason solely of leading and empowering people. And as soon as I realize that that is something that won't happen, then to me, that's when I start pumping the brakes. I know that for me, I want to mentor people who want to do good. If you want to do it for superficial reasons, you want to do it for arrogance or have want to one up somebody, then all of a sudden my desire to mentor you will go from 60 to 0, because part and parcel of being a good leader or being a good person, being a good, being a good contributor in society is starting with the core of being a good person. And if you don't have the same value in that for me, unfortunately, I have learned that we need to part ways or we need to stop that mentoring relationship because I can't invest in somebody who doesn't at least share that value with me. How about for you? I mean, it's non-negotiable for me. That's what
It's
that's a
probably,
strong,
it's not even,
it's sense,
yeah,
but how do you feel about it?
it's not even us, right? They don't even know they're doing it wrong, right? If they don't know what they're doing it wrong, you can't mentor them. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, and you're trying to teach them or help them understand that this is what you are, or this is, and then if they can't do it and they don't understand it, they don't want to, or willingness, you're never going to win with them. It is best to let them go, and maybe there is somebody out there who could probably reach in, and maybe maybe that's okay too. That's who they are going to be. I mean, I'm a little Pollyanna that the world is always shiny and everybody is good, and then people could get better. But some point you have to. That's a hard lesson for me actually, because I don't want to think that people can be bad. But at some point you have to learn that everybody's not the same, and so do you click with people you can, and there are going to be some people. I mean, the world has a lot of people, and you're not going to click with everybody. And thinking that is wrong, and there may be somebody may be able to get them to see, or maybe someday they will see it, and so maybe they're not wrong. They just don't have the same belief as we are. That's how. So I just let them go and go on their way, because it hurt me, and it was one of the most hurtful things happened to me. But I learned that I have a lot to contribute to it, because I didn't do the path I need to do as a leader, as a manager, not so much even a leader, as a manager. To I had there are processes in an organization. You need to follow that. And but you know what? I learned it, and that was the best lesson. Sometimes it's best to fall when you're young than break a couple bones, and you're all fixed it by the time. So that was good. And people say, like, to ask me, like, and sometimes they like we had to have a very difficult conversation with one of my people a few years back here when I work. And my boss asked me, "Did you ever actually? Are you comfortable doing it? And are you um have done it?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I have done it so many times, and this is clean cut, and I will do it by my own, and it's no problem." And easily terminated the person, and but she was worried for me, because the organization in her lifetime, she could probably didn't have a whole lot of experience like that. But sometimes it's good to have those, like a really, very traumatic experience, yeah, as a rookie and all that too. But yes, the answer to your question, yes, there is. The one thing I did understand is not everybody's mentorable, or everybody could be a mentee to you as me, but they could be someone else's mentee. And so it's hard to, like you said, it takes time to find it. And we sometimes invest a lot of time in them. And the sooner we find out is better, but sometimes you don't, you don't find out until you invest so much more time. Um, but as you get older and then doing it for long, you easily can spot those before you get too far.
100%. 100%. Is there any part of mentorship that we haven't talked about that you feel that should be explored, that our listeners should hear?
I would say, I would say, couple things. We talked about people don't see their own value and scared and insecure. That's one thing. Other thing is, people have knowing that every person have different skills, and understand what they are and get to know them, which we talked about too. And most importantly, leadership and mentoring is about providing safe environment so they could feel one. Not mentees are becoming they're vulnerable, right? If somebody want to be a mentee, they are actually becoming so much vulnerable to you, opening up to you that I can't do this or whatever. They don't even when they find out that I am this person, but nobody wants to admit that I could do it, but I'm not doing it. So understanding that, you provide a safe environment for people so that they are comfortable to talk to you. And like my little unit clerk, she literally screamed at me. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, no, that's not a choice. This is a mandatory thing. I'm making you do it. But because we had a relationship, she was comfortable to tell me that how she feel, and I was comfortable to tell her how I feel. And but can I do that with everybody? No. So that is a huge. I think that is the most important part of mentoring, to get to know the person first, or understanding what, then like where they could go from there.
I want to underscore what you're saying by really describing it in a way I almost feel like it's, and I'm not trying to overstate it, but it's a sacred relationship that you have with a mentee. It's a very personal relationship. It's you're really, you're I don't know how to say it without saying, there are times where you're going to be like that person's mother, that person's sister, that person's, you know, biggest fan. Also constructive criticism. Like
Yeah.
there's a relationship with this person that you can freely speak and share, and you can't abuse that power that you have with that person, nor can you not value that power. And so it's an important role to identify, and that if you undervalue it, you're not taking the responsibility seriously. And that's what I hear you saying, and that's what I feel when I have a relationship with that. And I have different levels of that with everybody. I may have more of a superficial relationship, a mentoring relationship as I'm getting to know somebody. And then there are people that I know this person needs to have a little nudge or needs to have that. But that's all part of the process, and that's part of being a mentor. But it's also really important for us to realize that is a very intimate relationship with somebody, that you are giving and taking that relationship to help them for this singular goal. And it's interesting because that in my past life, I was also a coach. And so in a coaching relationship, you have a formalized relationship where you are working on goals. And part of that mentorship is the business relationship for helping this individual get from point A to point B. And so coaching is that as well. It's a formalized mentorship relationship where somebody is paying you for your wisdom and your coaching to get them to that. And that's a very formalized relationship. So there's many forms that it can take, from an impersonal relation or a personal relationship all the way through, this is a service you're providing somebody and they're paying you for that service, right? So mentorship occurs in many different forms. You have to understand the structures and the pros and cons of each level of that so that you protect yourself as a mentor. But I think regardless of what level you have, even in a very personal relationship with no formality, you also have to realize that you're in a certain relationship over that individual. And you need to respect that role that you have in them, because you can do a lot of damage to that person if you don't understand, or you're flippant about the comments you make to somebody. It could be very hurtful because this person looks up to you and now you're not being responsible in the manner of that conversation. So I definitely think that is a great responsibility that a mentor has to the people that they have a relationship with, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say like my kids, like they mentor me to, Sammy being a physician assistant, she is very good at mentoring to do healthy habits and all our financial things and stuff. And because she knew that we're not doing a path, like it's not a bad path, but it was not. It's like a normal, easy path. But she pushed us to see beyond it. And Michelle's like, help me with my writing. And when I was trying to, not so much helping with the writing part of it. I was trying to, when I was in school, I was getting this, like, I was just not struggling, but I was just disappointed. And I wanted to quit and stuff. And she's like, no, you can't. I quit. You can't. If you quit it, are you going to be regretting it a few years down the road? And I'm like, I would. And then she said, well, then you have to stay home. And so your own children can, like they can mentor you a lot for yourself, and you, your mom, there's so many people mentor me to where I am, and my friend Betty, and it's just like every person you have an impact in your life, and and yes, that's yeah, this it's such a huge um when 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 we use the word mentoring, it's all business and professional, but it's a huge for me, it's way more than that. It's way more than it's a huge task, huge undertake for a person. It's the relationship for the mentee as well as the mentor. Like you said, it's just you really don't want to ruin that sacred. I mean, you said it very well. The sacred relationship. That I can't think of any other way to put it. It's just the best. Yeah. No. Yeah. I really. I mean, you're amazing though. You doing it. Like I always look up to you for things, and I'm like, oh yeah, I should call Josie and ask advice for this and that. So it's not so much the age, whether you're older or younger in a position, it's just like you could always mentor somebody, and that's what we're and I even say that even when people do bad things, they're kind of mentoring us in a way that don't do that. Like I don't call it mentoring, but it's just like you're learning from it. Mentoring is learning, so it's just like, okay, they're doing a bad thing that's not going to help you, so you shouldn't be doing it. And even bad people could teach you stuff.
I will tell you the funny thing about it too, for me, as you were speaking, I was thinking, like, I love mentorship relationships, and I have gained so much from having a mentor that I am waiting for my next mentor. Like, I keep reflecting on, when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive, or whatever that phrase is. And so I keep thinking, how much more do I have to be ready? Like, I'm ready. I need like my next sage or my next teacher. I want to continue growing. And because I do feel like when you are a mentor and when you understand the 360 sort of value of it, you also open yourself up to want to get that feedback, right? I mean, that when you're being mentored, you're being developed. Your next best self is coming. And so for me, I look forward to that day when I find somebody that I want to mentor me. And that means being vulnerable, right? That means opening yourself up for conversation and development. And yet, because I am a mentor and I don't have an attitude about that, I don't think I'm better. That's why I'm inviting the universe to bring me my next mentor, because it is such a beautiful process. I've always gotten so much out of it, that I think of it as being that, like, I'm ready. I want to continue growing. I want to continue moving. And, to me, it's a very wonderful experience. And, you clearly inspired me again talking about this and sharing your
Oh,
views
thank
with.
you.
And I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're not somebody who likes to be in a position where, where you
From the
speak,
cameras.
and I love it. And I specifically wanted you for that reason, because you're not somebody who talks about yourself and who lets everybody know how wonderful you are. And I know that you have touched so many people's lives, and without even knowing it, because you are such a kind person, and that to know you is to understand that you mean the best with your words. And whether it's delivered the right way, or if it's understood the same way, if it lands the same way, the way you said it, your goal is always to uplift somebody. And I know that. And that's what makes me value the time we have together and the conversation we have. So thank you so much for taking the time.
No, it was a great pleasure. I really enjoyed the again, I made me think of things I would not have thought of myself, and But yeah, no, you're amazing yourself, and you give me a lot more credit than I anyway. But yeah, no, I really appreciate it. And then I like this is a great journey, and I'm very proud of you for whatever you like. You're doing amazing. Like you're running two sets of YouTube and the podcast, and then working, raising a daughter, and then three other kids, and like cooking for just yeah, you're doing amazing yourself. And but yeah, thank you so much. I really, really no, I really appreciate it. Even though I was like really do not want to do it, because I'm not a person in front of the camera. And yeah, thank you so
Well, I
much.
appreciate it. I mean, I feel like, the whole reason why I do these podcasts is because it inspires me. Everybody I talk to, it's a different form of learning. And I always leave the relationship, the conversation being better than I was when we first started. And that's what drives me. I want to share people's lives and people's stories that we talked about yesterday. And this is just a different way to do it. And for somebody to randomly come upon it and discover this conversation is going to change somebody's way of thinking. And that in itself is, and I appreciate you taking the time to do it with me. And I know that challenging for you, and I'm glad that you overcame that to help me out. And I know that's the only reason you did it. And I appreciate it so much.